Hello, David. How are you?
I'm well, Danielle. How are you?
I am doing well, thank you.
Good, good. Good to hear you. Good to hear your voice.
Same here.
Just save that and move that out of the way. Okay. I'm looking forward to hearing you and William have a good conversation here.
This should be fun.
Yes,
Can you hear me okay?
I can.
All right, perfect.
I can. I'm trying to figure out how to stop sharing that one. How have you been these days?
Good, good, really good, really good. It's exciting that we're opening up now. So many more opportunities to just get out, get back to some travel. So excited about that.
Absolutely. I myself was just in New York recently. Ventured out from Texas to New York to the ONUG conference there, the digital conference. So yeah, that was exciting. And it was exciting being back in New York because that's my home. I just haven't been there in a year or so.
Yes.
So it was really good. It was good.
Yes. Where in New York are you from?
Brooklyn.
What part?
Brownsville. Brownsville, Brooklyn. I'm from the Ville. We never ran. We never will. That's how. A lot of people didn't make it from that motto.
I know.
Have that motto, and that motto did some of us good, did some of us tough. So, but nonetheless, God's been cool with us for sure.
Yes.
God has
yes,
been real cool,
has.
especially
yes,
with me, sure, and my family, all of us. Whether we're with us or not. So that's it's a blessing to be out of the mix in the rat race. So.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Also, just to know, it is recording. Did we want to start the recording, stop and start again?
Let me go there and please give the host. Oh, all right. So let's meet her. Let's monitor because it is recording. Anyway, it's real good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
William Sheppard, how are you? We're going to start on time whether people are here or not, and people trickle in. Hey, William Sheppard.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yes,
oh my goodness,
can.
Listen to that radio voice. I just missed that radio voice.
Yes, he is.
Missed that radio voice, boy. How have you been, William?
I've been well. Just got back from the hospital not too long ago. My dad's recovering very fast. So appreciate all the prayers.
No doubt.
Absolutely.
No doubt.
Glad to hear that.
Yep. Me also. Prayers are in place. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. Doing well.
I'm doing
on this
well
wonderful
also.
Saturday afternoon.
Oh yeah.
Saturday. Great. In 2 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and get started anyway, and people just trickle in here. We know we've got about an hour to stay together, and sometimes it goes longer based on the conversation. I'm sure you and William have either had some conversations and are ready to proceed, and looking forward to it. Hey, Gregory, LaRon, and Serenity. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
Not bad, man. As Danielle said, it's a beautiful Saturday. It is here in Texas. So beautiful day here in Texas for sure. So.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Serenity, how are you doing? It's been a while.
Incognito. So for me, I think it's just best that we got a minute before we start, but I'm going to go ahead and get started, and at least we'll go through our normal process of introducing our speakers and our interview today. But this is also, this program is being hosted by Cyversity in their Impact Engage program, where we have for the last 3, even more years, been interviewing folks from the cybersecurity community. We interview those who have made some astonishing developments in their career, who are still traversing and navigating, excuse me. And that's what happens when you have big thumbs, navigating their career. But this is all hosted by Cyversity. And so I'm going to go through what we normally do. But today is Saturday, October 22nd. It's just about 2 p.m. in the East. And today we'll be listening to William Sheppard, our guest moderator, speak with one of his mentors, Danielle Desalu. But also, I also wanted to bring to everyone's attention and remind everyone of the Cyversity's upcoming national conference in Orlando. It's from the 6th to the 8th. As Danielle was saying earlier, it's been great that we can open up again, get back in front of people again and speak with folks again. And this is Cyversity's foray back into the limelight and working with folks at their national conference. This conference is going to be packed with a lot of content, a lot of opportunities, a couple of side events, but it's one of those events that, as we have said in the past, it's where our mentees get an opportunity to engage with some of our corporate partners, and it's always been great. And Danielle's been a part of that for quite some time. So again, good to see you, Danielle. And I'm going to put up here the registration link. That is the link, but want to be able to get you folks who are able to register and come to the conference. Let me get back to where I'm supposed to be here and not there either. Okay. See what happens when you fool with stuff? It's the big thumb theory. Anyway, Cyversity has had a mission since its inception, and that is to achieve the consistent representation of women and minorities and underrepresented minorities in communities like the one I grew up in Brownsville, Brooklyn. We do that through programs that are designed to help foster recruitment, inclusion, retention, diversity, equity, all the things that are necessary to help those who don't have the same access as some of our other counterparts to get access to training and security training. So this has been our mission. We've been at it for about 7 years, almost 8 years now, and it's been really successful and it's rewarding. And for me, it just fills up my soul after I've done all the things that I've done to come back and just say, hey, look, this is the time for us to real focus on those of us who need and those of us who don't have the access. And so I've been privileged to be able to help and serve in that way. We're a membership organization. And again, our membership is again free. We determined, the organization and the leadership determined that they should keep the membership free so that folks can be a part of Cyversity and go through what we call our Explore, Access, and Development and Connectivity engagement. There's obviously a lot of things to explore, so you can explore your career. And I think some of that conversation is going to be held today, and also focusing on development of cybersecurity skills, especially through our Engage events, our conference that's coming up November 6th to the 8th, scholarships, training, membership programs, and above all, the networking that is done through this program. I'm going to skip this because we're not paid for organization anymore. Just go down to some of our topic areas, which is our career development, career spotlighting, and transitioning, especially leadership, and in technical talks on the things that mentees and practitioners need to know to be proficient and competent in the security industry. Over the year, you can see that we've celebrated a couple of highlights during the year. October this year, Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Of course, next month of Native American and Heritage and Military Veterans Month, Disabled Awareness in December, and of course so on. Our ground rules are pretty simple. Mute your phone, mute your laptop, mute whatever you're listening on, and allow us to focus on the discussion. At the end of the discussion, it's going to be a question and answer period. So if you want to come off mute and ask a question, or even put it in the chat box. We'll be able to address those questions. And of course, this session is being recorded and it'll be distributed. Typically, we have a on-demand session that Cyversity puts up. I'm going to put that link in a survey link, and I'm going to put that survey link into the chat so that all of you folks can put in your suggestions or your opinions on how this conversation went. There is our Cyversity survey link. So we'll get back to that a little later. So today we're talking with Danielle Desalu. Next month, we're going to be interviewing all of the presidents, about 7 of them, all the chapter presidents, so that we can hear what they're what they're doing, not going through, what their plans are for the 2023 campaign, what they need from us as part of their audience and part of their constituents, and talk to us about how we're going to develop the chapters moving forward. December, we take off, and January, we start again. And as typical, we always have someone from the leadership kick off the year. And this year, it's going to be the chairman of our Cyversity's board of directors, Julian Waits. And today, there she is, Danielle Desalu. So it's been wonderful to know you over the time that I have known you, Danielle. And we've worked closely to get Mr. William where he is, and he's doing some amazing things. So what I will do is I will stop sharing, right? And I'm going to move to the back of the room and let Mr. Radio Personality get in here. Mr. Radio Personality guy. William, welcome. Good to see you again. And thank you for stepping up and agreeing to host and moderate.
Of course.
Take it away, sir.
Of course. And thank you, David, for creating this platform for us to help other people. Danielle, I want to thank you for coming on, and I also want to thank everybody for attending. I see a few familiar faces, familiar names, Ramel, Serenity. Good to have you guys here. So before we begin into the question, really the discussion for today, I just want to give Danielle the stage to introduce who she is, what she does, and then we'll go ahead and head into some rapid fire icebreaker questions.
Fantastic. Well, thank you both for this opportunity. So excited to be here on this amazing Saturday afternoon. My name is Danielle Desalu, and today I am a leader in AWS as the Cloud Sales Center. And my responsibilities are to pull together a program around early and career talent, creating solution architect opportunities for the greater and larger organization.
Great. That was just the tip of the iceberg. I've known Danielle since 2018, and she's been instrumental in my career, providing advice. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for her. So I really do appreciate it. So to start off, we're gonna just do some some rapid fire questions. So first off, you're from New York, but you're no longer in New York.
No.
What do you miss most about being in New York City?
I think for me, that always on energy, it's just live all the time. And it's the only place in the world that you experience that energy. And if I can name one more thing, a good New York bagel.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, a few of us can attest to that. Ramel, I know Ramel's from New York. I spent a couple of years out there. Yeah, it's no place like New York for sure.
No place.
All right. So we're gonna go ahead and just hop into our interview. So the discussion for today is gonna be revolving around the power of mentorship and how having a mentor can truly change the course of your career, whether you are starting off as an entry-level professional or as a senior level executive. So the hope for today is to provide as much value for you guys in terms of how do you find mentors and how you can use that relationship in a healthy way to leverage yourself in your career. All right. So our first question for today, I want to ask Danielle, can you speak to the importance of having a personal board of directors that can vouch for you?
Absolutely. So first, what is a personal board of directors? I know that that might be a new concept. A personal board of directors it's not an official board, it's not an official title, it's not an official group, but it's an unofficial group of people whom could be mentors, relatives, colleagues, whom you trust and support you and all of your endeavors. These are the people who you can go to get that, feedback that you really don't like, but know you needed to hear. Those are the individuals that are part of your personal board of directors. I think it's incredibly important to have these individuals because whether it's a presentation that you're preparing to give in front of a large audience of people, maybe it's a tough conversation that you're about to have with the leader. You want to make sure that it's guided appropriately. It can also be for scenarios where you're doing something incredible, but maybe you don't necessarily want to toot your own horn. These are also people that can help get those amazing accomplishments and accolades in front of them in support of you so that you don't necessarily have to always be the person sharing all the wonderful and great things that you're doing.
Yeah. What would you say what would each pillar of this board of directors look like? If I'm starting off in my career, what sort of people should I be looking for as a part of that board of directors?
That's a great question. I think for me, if I think about back when I was first starting off, what was important would be someone who is a peer, because that's someone who you're developing a relationship with and they can give you some contextual feedback just based on where you are in your current career. I'd look for someone who's a few years ahead so that they can help me see down the road. But again, someone who has a relationship with you, who you know and have built trust in. The trust is incredible because there are times you may want to share things with these people that you want to know is done in confidence.
Yeah.
I would have a leader on that board. If you think about your career and your trajectory of your career, someone who could look a little higher at where you're looking to go and can give you a different lens and a different perspective on what you're doing. You might have the same thing that you want to bring, but because you're bringing it to a peer, someone who's a few steps ahead of the peer, and then the leader, you're going to get a full 360 perspective from those individuals on that one thing that you want to have a conversation with. So diversity of experience and diversity of thought in that personal board of directors, I think is also really important. So those are, I would say, three key people that it would be good to have as you're just starting out.
Gotcha. I really want to dig on that last part, the finding a leader that's further along than you are. So a common fear of people, especially starting off in their career, is, man, what is my value proposition? What can I add to that relationship? What kind of advice can you provide to someone who has a perceived lack of value proposition? How can I have that conversation with somebody that is further along in their career and having them part of my board of directors?
That's a great question because most often, I think we've all experienced that at some point where we're meeting or talking with someone who we just hold in such high regard and we appreciate the time that they share with us. And we say, ooh, I want to make sure there's some type of value exchange, but what am I bringing to the table? One of the ways that you can think about it is value is definitely something that's tangible, right? And value can be provided to anyone at any time. And what it is simply something that person doesn't have that they need that you want. So one would say that's how we exchange money as an example, right? I need $10, you have it. What service can I provide to you to gain that $10? Value is the same. So let me give you an example. I remember early in my career when I had access and opportunity to chat with a few people who were fairly senior in their role. And as we're talking, I felt, ooh, this is fantastic for me to get this exposure and to really have a chance to chat with them. But then I also felt to myself, what can I provide to them that they will feel is of value so they'll continue to engage and chat with me? Well, I remember having the conversation around their business. So first they listened a lot to what I was sharing and provided some guidance and feedback. And I stopped and just said, this is fantastic. Well, tell me a little bit more about the business that you run and maybe some of the challenges that you're seeing. Now, as a result of that leader sharing that, one of the challenges they had was really their pipeline of talent and really finding new ways to look for talent. At the time, I was running a service delivery organization, and one of my other roles was leading an early in career intern program, which we converted interns to full-time candidates. As part of that, I shared how we came up with the idea, how we executed the idea. And that was exciting for this executive because that was a problem they were trying to solve. And so now giving them some of the lessons learned, areas where we were successful, areas of opportunity from best practices that we've learned, I've now solved a problem for them. And so that was of value to them. And so now there has been a value exchange in that relationship where they've shared something with me that helped me further my career. And I, based on where I was in stage in life, was able to help them solve one of their business problems by simply just asking more questions to get to know them and get to know about their business.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you touched on that because for me, it's okay, if I have a mentor, how do you maintain what does a healthy mentor-mentee relationship look like? And you kind of spoke to that about the reframing of what value really means. So I liked how you talked about that. Are you this day, do you have any mentees that you're pouring into? I know you have some work that you do with girls in STEM. Can you speak to that and how that relationship looks like as a senior level exec pouring into a younger audience?
Absolutely. I think so. Mentorship, let me take a step back. So a mentor is someone who's helping give you advice and coach you along the way, whether that's for career, it could be for a number of things. Mentorship relationships, I believe, are two-way. Again, we talked about the importance of that value exchange. A healthy mentor relationship, I do think, starts from a foundation of trust and accountability. And so as a mentee, I look at my mentors, I want to respect their time and I want to respect and value the opinions that they share. So I'm going to be very proactive in setting up time with them. I also want to be very clear with them around what I'm hoping to accomplish in the relationship, my career, my goals, my aspirations, and also being able to share with them the things that I would like for them to work with me on. That way they understand. Many of us are always busy. So just having a conversation to just talking, they may not clearly key into what it is that I need from them out of the relationship. So I think making that clear is important. The other healthy piece is really making sure that you are having some consistent engagement. May not be very helpful to speak to them once every 6 months, as an example. So agreeing upon a time that makes sense for both schedules that allows you the opportunity to really dig into some of the areas that you're really looking for support. I'll go on to answer the other piece of the question you asked as well, pouring into individuals. I personally believe that you can have, and it's a great idea to have, a mentor at every stage in life, whether you're at high school, looking and aspiring to college, looking and aspiring further, and throughout your career. You might be looking to leave corporate America at some point and move into some entrepreneurship. All throughout any stage and phase of life, there are opportunities for mentor. The other piece, the flip side of that, there is also an opportunity at every stage in life to be a mentor. If you think about wherever you are, there is always someone who is looking to be where you are. And so your opportunity to connect with them, whether you're in college and they're in high school, Whether you're in corporate America and they're in college or high school, there is always a way and an opportunity for us to be looking and pulling others up from where they are to help and support so that they can have a smooth trajectory, maybe in places where it wasn't so smooth, for us as we were going through it.
Yeah. Really quick before we continue, I want everybody to put a 1 in the chat if you're currently looking for someone and looking for a mentor. You're wanting to get to the next level of your career, wherever you're at, and you feel like you're at this glass ceiling. Just put a 1 in the chat if you, just so I can see. Okay, Serenity. All right. All right. So I want to speak to, okay, we're in this day and age, we're working from home. Everything is virtual for the most part. How can I find people if I'm not working at a company like Amazon or Microsoft? How can I find these relationships so I can further my career if I'm already in tech or I'm aspiring to get into tech? What are some
Yeah.
strategies?
That's a great question. And with the pandemic, I think a lot of being able to connect with individuals has truly suffered. And it's made it a lot harder, but not impossible, right? It will be harder. You'll have to put more initiative into it. So if we think about how we typically connect with folks, we would either go into a central place, whether that was an office or it was an event that was taking place. We're meeting people by physically going into places. These things are still happening virtually, like this call. You can always take a screenshot of a call that you've been on and say, hey, I heard you speak here. I'd love to put 35 minutes, 10 minutes on your calendar to introduce myself because I'd like to hear more about X. It's the same thing you would have done in person, but now you actually have to reach out a little bit. So a couple more steps, process still very similar. Reaching out to friends and colleagues that you know and being able to share with them, hey, I'm looking for someone who could help me with presentation skills or really being able to, work through a difficult scenario at work and I work in this field. That person could refer you on to someone else that can refer you to someone else that can refer you to someone else. And then at some point, you might connect with someone whom you watch their body of work, you watch how they have carried themselves through a scenario and say, this person is someone that might be able to help. Let me reach out and see if they might mind spending some time with me. So ultimately, it's going to be reaching out to folks whom you're connected to on virtual calls, using colleagues and contacts to ask for recommendations of people. And then also, as you are witnessing people in the day-to-day fill in the blank, whether you're in college and courses, you're in the everyday workday, you might come across someone who's doing an amazing job with organizing or project managing a project. And you might say, man, there's so many different variables to this. How do they keep it all together? Reach out and just say, hey, listen, I was incredibly impressed with how you ran that meeting. This is $1 million project. And how do you just keep all the pieces together? Most people will be more than happy to spend time just sharing with you, well, here's how I do it. So there are a number of different ways I think you can go about acquiring a mentor.
Yeah, appreciate that insight. Yeah, I think it's in a sense, it's a little bit easier to reach out through technology. We have LinkedIn, you have access to so many professionals. And like you said, you don't have to be super high in your career. Just being able to acknowledge someone who is at a further point in your career and reaching out and setting up that time is great.
100%. It always comes back to the value exchange. And we all have value to exchange. It's just about having the conversation and understanding what is it that I can provide to this person that they are looking for.
I love that. So for people that are currently in their career, they're looking for that next level transitioning. How has mentorship played out in your life? Can you speak to your story on how you transitioned from Cisco being there for a pretty significant portion of your career and making a lot of impact to now going on doing something even greater with AWS? Can you speak to that transition and how mentorship played in that?
Absolutely. So first, I'll start by saying, when I think about the entirety of my career, I could have been being vocally self-critical. I could have been a lot better in obtaining mentors. Um, I did not leverage the opportunity to have mentors sooner, and many might have said I could have progressed in my career a lot faster, because mentors are going to help provide that guidance when you're about to have an interview, when you're about to give a presentation, when you are about to submit a project. These are all places and touch points where you could engage someone and say, hey, I just need another set of eyes that'll take a look at this and give me some perspective, which again, polishes the rough edges, right? That's the way I like to look at it. We are all great at something, but we all have an opportunity where there's just a little rough edge that can be polished. And that's where mentorship could come. They also give you an insight into some of your blind spots, places that you didn't quite see, that they could create an awareness for, that you then stop in your tracks and said, oh, wow, I didn't, thank you so much for sharing. Let me go retool how I'm going to do this with that input. So when we transition to just thinking about me and how I could have done better, I learned very quickly that that gap was something I needed to solve. So as you know, I was at Cisco for almost 20 years. And in the time I was there, I've had an incredible career of different things I had a chance to do. Individual contributor roles that were network consulting engineer, systems engineer, systems administrator. There's a number of opportunities that I had. And even from a leadership perspective, I had a number of leadership opportunities there as well. We were in the pandemic and there was a lot of change that was happening. And I found that I began to share with my team and the various organizations that I supported a couple of key things. I said to them, change is the constant, right? And so incredibly important for us to embrace change, because that is the one constant. We will continue to see change, especially in the IT space and even outside of the IT space. Some of the other things that I shared with them was that it is incredibly important for you to get comfortable with that change, right? Put yourself in uncomfortable places and get comfortable being uncomfortable. So that was another piece that I shared with them. And as I sat back and I thought about the words that I continued to share, I could have stayed and done amazing things, but an opportunity came. And I heard the words that I kept sharing with my teams: be comfortable being uncomfortable, put yourself in uncomfortable situations, ensure that, change is going to be the constant. When the opportunity came, I sought many of the mentors whom I spoke with, who didn't tell me what to do, but allowed me to play out different scenarios with them. Ultimately, I found those words I continued to say being played out in front of me. And it was that said, let's go for it. Change is the constant. And let's be comfortable, Danielle, being a little uncomfortable. And so that was the crux of why I felt it was an amazing opportunity for me to use those words and to try something absolutely different, new, and exciting.
Yeah, I love that, because those are the same words you told me when I transitioned, when I made my career transition. For those that don't know Danielle, the reason why I say she played a strong part in my development is because I had worked for a company for a number of years, and it would have been a comfortable decision to continue. And I remember she told me the best thing you can do for your career right now is to do something different, because you can always come back. And those words, like that's, the rest is history. So yeah, really appreciate that.
And William, we'd be remiss to say that conversation was probably 5 years before I made my move. So if I think about that, how could I give you that advice and not take it myself?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, seeing how it has played out, I think it's amazing. So so what are we doing today? What are you, in terms of, I know you're working with STEM girls. What are you doing in that regard in terms of mentorship?
So one of the things I think is really important is representation in STEM is incredibly important. And I think the earlier we create opportunities for exposure, the more it sinks in that this is an option for me. And they talk about representation matters, right? So anytime you are part of something that looks a little different than it normally does, there's a platform and an opportunity for you to expose others so that they can now show up and say, hey, wait a minute, I see that William is doing this. I didn't think that people like William did this before. I'm now curious. And it takes that curiosity for them to start to dig in a little bit more and see that various different careers are now an option for them. So I like to just take the ability with girls. It doesn't have to be girls. I've done a lot with Girl Scouts as an example. I was a Girl Scout leader for 7 years when my children were in the younger grades as well. And part of that is just pure exposure, really giving them the option. I ran an event last year around aviation, also STEM. And part of it was exposing aviation to underrepresented children. And to this day, that event took place maybe in the May timeframe. To this day, every time I talk to someone who was there, they talk about how this is now an option for their child when once before it was something they didn't even consider. So for me, everything with STEM is really just expose people who have not previously been exposed to the option and the opportunity, create it as an available option for them, and they will begin to dig in on their own and start to want to learn more. And I feel that that's half the battle.
Yeah, I love that. That'll have generational impact.
100%.
For sure.
100%.
Right. So it looks like we are tailing the latter part of the interview. At this time, if you guys have any questions you'd like to ask Danielle, just go ahead and start preparing those. We're gonna head into our question round soon.
William, I would love, you asked a question earlier, and I'm looking here now and I see lots of ones. And the question that you asked was about whether or not people felt as if they were, I don't want to put words. What were the words that you chose?
Yeah, I asked for people that are looking for a mentor. They're looking to get to that next level in their career or breaking into STEM. And looks like the majority of people put a 1 in the chat.
So I think this is an opportunity, right? I think this is a tremendous opportunity for everyone that's on the call. Let me say a couple more things, and then David, William, I think we've got an opportunity here with the individuals that are saying they are raising their hands and saying, I want mentorship. Something else that I'm really passionate about from a mentorship perspective is I personally believe there are a couple ways you can get mentors. Sometimes it's through a formalized program, right? Where you align someone with the aspiration of doing X with someone who's doing X, and you bring them together and then off they go. I also believe it could be an organic and natural just conversation. You're having a discussion with someone who's already either a pioneer in their field or maybe a couple paces ahead of you, and you say, hey, I'd love to have a conversation. Here's where I'm trying to go. And most often, I believe there's not a person that I know whom when you reach out to them and say, hey, you've been amazing at this, how do I do that as well? They won't spend 5 minutes trying to help you get there. But David, my question for you, what can we do from a mentorship perspective? And I throw this to you because I know you and I have had very strong mentorship conversations, years and years ago. What can we do to help support, or are there mechanisms that can support mentors and mentorships for all the participants who have raised their hand?
Oh, sure. I think the question about the glass ceiling is good. And when you notice just about everyone on this list raised their hand, even folks that are have progressed along in their careers. But to answer your question directly, there are of processes. As you mentioned, it could be something organic, or it could be something like Cyversity. It could be something that's institutional, like the company I'm running, Austin, Brooklyn, which actually finds folks like these groups of people who are in need, take them through, a training period that is associated with their employer's time to hire. So if you come to the table with, if there are 15 needs, you come to the table with 12 and you need 3, these 3 can be trained in a specific amount of time, especially if the employer is interested. There's other thing that I'll say this and then I'll shut up because I'm a preacher's kid and I could talk, Danielle.
All good.
Yeah, but here, there's another, I'm working with a couple of corporate partners and 2 large academic institutions that are going back into communities like the one I grew up in and grabbing a couple of these folks, putting them through this high-level academic sort of immersion into cybersecurity, and then they come over to me in a cyber range, and then we get gritty and do it all day long for months and months and months on end. It could be 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 8 months. By the time you come out of that experience, no one can tell you that you haven't got 2 years of experience because you're dealing with all of the treachery that is involved in the landscape every single day. And if you work for a corporation that gets that much treachery every single day, somebody's going to soon get fired. So that is the essence of being in that kind of environment, feeling that rigorous pain day in and day out is something that that I think is useful. I hope I answered your question, Danielle.
Yes, absolutely you did. And in addition to that, I'd love to find out if there's a way for the attendees, we can maybe get them through to some of those programs so that we've got a way to help get them connected with some mentors.
Absolutely. There's one thing I'll say. I would like everyone that put a 1 to come off mute and come speak with us now. It's a good time. And this is what being in this field is about, because there are 3 things that you want to have. You want to have business skills. Work on those business skills, understanding the business and putting yourself right in line with how that company makes money. 2, you have to have communication skills. So it's a good opportunity to come off and speak with us about your specific things so we can begin to fashion the approach. And of course, the technical skills are there. But those things, great as they are, they will be taught. You can learn those. You'll learn them with me. You'll learn them with Cyversity. You'll learn them with Danielle. You'll learn them with anyone else on the school. You'll learn them with Omar, right? One of my other mentees who's very far along in his career as well. So, come off mute. Don't be ashamed and don't be afraid. Come off mute, come on so we can see you and talk with us about it now, because this is a good time. And we've got the time if you need it. I know we're in we've got the time to talk. That's what this whole session and engagement and interview is about. Let's hear it, let's talk about it, and let's progress in it.
Awesome.
Who's gonna be, hey, Brandon, I know you're related to Bobby James. Are you gonna come off mute, Brandon, and talk with us? So William is like, I know how Dave does that all the time.
Yeah. Looks like we have, Omar is volunteering to go first. Omar, introduce yourself. Let us know who you are and what are your needs. What are you looking for?
There he is. You're on mute, Omar, still. You're still on mute, Omar.
Hey, Omar, yeah, your mic is muted.
Hi, can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you. Let me just quickly introduce myself. I worked with David a couple of months ago. Was part of a program to, I guess, get mentorship against some type of technical knowledge through Cyber Range. And right now, I transitioned to a company for AWS, working with Alexa. And I'm trying to, I guess, gauge that the field in the cybersecurity, but more targeted to the privacy area. But I guess regarding not only the protection of the data, but how can it be used without affecting the privacy of customers. That makes sense. Yeah. So I guess the question that I have, Danielle, is I noticed that you used to work for Cisco for quite some time, and it seems that I believe Cisco or those big corporations, they have a really standard way of work. They're pretty set on their way. So I'm just wondering, when you move to Amazon, it's one of these tech companies where everything goes fast. So I'm just wondering, how was that transition for you, and what kind of advice you can provide for someone that is moving from a really different environment and culture?
No, I think that's a great question. And I think you hit it spot on, right? I think every organization is going to have its own culture and own way of doing work. And I think talking to many others who've made large transitions, they might have walked in with one perspective and expectation and were quickly shown something else. So my advice and recommendation would be, again, we're talking about mentorship here. Find a mentor, which I did upon coming in, have conversations with them, ask very tough questions, say, hey, help me understand what's different here than where I previously left. What are some of the things that you think I could do to on-ramp quickly? What do successful people do in this organization? And if you're unsure, that was another question that we've been covering, unsure how to get a mentor, you could start on LinkedIn. You can start using your network, or reach out to people who you know in your current organization that might know people in your future organization, right? And don't be afraid. Someone reached out to me just recently. They were looking for an opportunity in a different company, and they saw we were connected. And they said, would you mind connecting us? And so we connected on LinkedIn, and then off the two of them went. You can absolutely facilitate LinkedIn as a great way of being able to connect people so that you can get to the heart of what it is you're looking for, which is that guidance and advice in your new organization based on the organization you're coming from. Does that help answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome.
We appreciate you sharing your experience with us.
Absolutely. Thank you for the question.
You know, there's one other thing I'll add to you, what you're saying about Cisco. Just last month, we had Guillermo Diaz, who was the senior vice president for Cisco. He was on our program last month. We've been talking about his new thing, Conectiado, and high tech, and a couple of other things. I'm going to introduce you to him, Omar. But also, being present at a lot of these networking events that are starting to happen now is where you'll run into people, especially if you just give yourself an opportunity to be awkward and uncomfortable. Be uncomfortable. I always tell my sons, work like everybody can't work so you can live like everybody can't live. So if you get uncomfortable and get yourself out there at these conferences and just meet people and network, this is critical. The network ends up being your net worth. So go get it. This is where it is. Brandon, you're up next, buddy.
Hey fam, hopefully you can all hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'll try to do this video thing. I'm not the greatest at it here. Let's see. So I'm in the middle of picking up my kids from oddly enough, a robotics camp. But yeah, as far as it relates to mentorship in the cybersecurity and privacy space, yeah, I mean, it starts with organizations like Cyversity, at least in my experience, and also helps to, there's this concept of self-actualization, and you kind of have to seek out those spaces and perspectives to do discovery, because a lot of times you don't know what you don't know. And the only way to understand that is to, step out of your comfort zone, as Danielle was talking about earlier, and sometimes take a leap of faith. Attend different conferences, join different communities of affinity, and put yourself in those places, and you'd be surprised what that immersion will do for you. Within Cyversity, obviously there's a mentorship program and mechanism in place today that's pretty robust. There's quite a few people that are willing to give their time and help everyone else you know, get some broader perspective. So, and I'll put my name in there as well. I'm one of those people that's wanting to help. So, yeah, feel free to reach out if you have any questions. And at least from my background is within the cybersecurity and privacy space within AWS and the cloud.
That's right.
Yeah, so happy to help.
That's awesome, Brandon. Thank you so much. And you're 100% right. Our ability to continue to connect, whether it is those in-person events, specifically affinity related events. And affinity is really just when you're gathering people that are all after the same identity item. It can be security focused. It could be, basket weaving focused. It's really just being able to bring like minds together that are all focused on one thing and starting to network from within that group and asking the questions, having the conversations around your respective interests. And just like I saw what was happening with Omar and William, you mentioned a specific focus. Oh, I've got somebody who it would be great for you to talk to. So really getting into those affinity and those groups are a great way to start to network and to gain potential mentors in the future.
I just mistook Brandon for someone else. Brandon is also with AWS. Brandon, it's so good to see you again, brother. It really warms my heart to connect with you again. Thank you for coming.
There's so much fam on the call. I love it. I need to connect with all of you after this.
Yeah, I have a few really close friends on this call, Ramel and Tom. Good to have you guys here. Bobby, looks like you have your hand raised. Go ahead, and whenever you're ready, unmute yourself.
Hello, everyone. Hi, David. I wanted to come on here, one, because I had the pleasure of meeting David, and you guys were talking about your network is your network, right? And so a couple of my nephews are on here, and I'm really thankful to Danielle and William for you guys being here in partnership with David to bring this opportunity to individuals who are interested in cybersecurity. Now, I did put number one in the chat. I have a nonprofit, and I feel that we always have the opportunity to grow and learn, right? So I'm not in the cyber space. However, Danielle, as you said, regardless of where you are in your career, having a mentor is always a good thing to do. So I'm like, yes, I'm looking to take my nonprofit to the next level. So I'm always looking for mentors and to be a mentor. But I wanted to come on camera and just thank all three of you for being here and creating this opportunity for those who are interested in this field and just sharing your story. And again, David, I wanted to thank you for putting this together and inviting us to be here.
God be like that. It's just the way I can say it. I'm sorry if I offended anyone. I don't mean to, but that's just the way that works.
Hey, Bobby, I want to dig in a little bit more. You mentioned that you're looking to get to that next level. In what way? Can you be a little bit more specific on how we might be able to help you?
I appreciate that opportunity to speak to that, William. So if you guys are or are not familiar with the nonprofit sector, oftentimes we are challenged with the awareness of who we are and what we do, the funding that we need, and the challenge of, oh, can I get that grant? Oh, can I get that donor? Can I get them? All those in any business, the constant grind for making sure that you can stand out, right? And so our mission is to provide connections to other nonprofits, to tools, tips, resources. That's part of the reason why I network. We manage events for philanthropic efforts, and we bring community awareness for these organizations. And we offer all of that at no direct cost to these nonprofits. And so I believe in the for-profit world, when you partner with nonprofits for social good or, greater good, we all win, right? And so if people don't understand my message, or they don't know who we are or where we are, how do we amplify that? The more I have to bless others, right, then it changes the world. So taking us to the next level is, how do I get our awareness out there? How do I get a clear message to people to understand, as even though we are a nonprofit, it is a benefit to you as a for-profit to invest in the nonprofit sector, right? Obviously, it has to resonate with you what we do or what other nonprofits do. But if social good are words that resonate with you, I would love the opportunity to have a conversation to really talk about, William, how do you guys guide me to perhaps connecting with a social good, a Corp B, L3C organizations that really are talking about, you know what, I've been blessed with financial wealth and I don't know what to do with it. I can help you with that. But it's, again, positioning all of us to collectively do good, right? It is the community. It is how we come together that makes the difference in the world, right? We cannot do it alone. And that's why we're all here, because we cannot do it alone.
100%. Bobby, thank you so much. Everything you said just spoke to me. So let's definitely connect offline, right? The other thing, you mentioned the ability for you to communicate clearly what your mission is, right? I think when we think about folks that are various stages of their career, David, you mentioned communication is key. Communication, business acumen, technical acumen. 1,000% yes on all of those. So my thought is, working with a nonprofit, working with an affinity group is a great way and opportunity for people who are trying to hone those communication skills to do it in a way that allows them to help support the nonprofit or the affinity group while they're also honing that skill for their career progression as well. Totally, absolutely a place there where we can see a connection. Let's figure out how we do that.
I love that, Danielle. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Thank you.
All right. So this is some very specific, again, yeah, Bobby, thank you so much for sharing. I love your passion and energy for what you do. It's very evident. Yeah. We'll definitely be connecting afterwards. Ian, so you said looking for a mentor to facilitate entry into data, business analytics, transitioning into cybersecurity. Okay. If you want to come off, okay, there we go. You want to speak a little bit more to that? What you're looking for?
Actually, David, it says to be applying to some jobs in business analytics and the like, but I've not had success with that. So I'm hoping maybe through this channel to sing with us. But the long-term goal is still transition to cybersecurity proper, though.
Did we lose your volume, Ian? And how are you, man? How you been, sir?
Good. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Very well.
Okay. No, I'm still interested in trying to obtain one of those data analytics jobs that you assisted me in trying to obtain, with the goal of using that as a springboard to launch into cybersecurity proper. So I'm hoping maybe by attending mentors or further connections, I could actually would facilitate this.
This is an instance where when you have a mentee like Ian, it's going to be this two-way thing. This guy is a scientist. I'm not joking either. He's a very, very smart man, looking to retool himself in the industry and finding his way into security, data management, data analytics. And when you put his resume in front of folks, it's really interesting. So my chore and job that I've been doing is getting past any of the first level reviews, because they're going to be intimidated. Honestly, this guy's like a genius scientist, he's like a savant scientist, right? So I'm not blowing your skirt up, Ian. That's how I feel. Personally, that's how I feel. So I've been talking to people past the hiring manager at the decision CISO and CIO level to see if they can find somewhere where they can find a place for Ian in their organization where he can then sort of symbiotically engage with the groups that he's involved with, because it's a little intimidating to read his resume. It really kind of is. But I think beyond that, I'm happy to listen to anyone else's approach, because we have contacts I just want to make sure I'm using them correctly to help and support William.
So David, I think, and Ian, so great to meet you. Thank you for sharing. David, I do think that given that ask, we let us connect offline, because I have also, I remember someone who was interviewing for an opportunity and they had a PhD in analytics, trying to come into a corporate role. It's tough because, you know, the recruiters are looking for something very specific. So it's almost like you have to be a broker internal to the company to really understand the value that the individual is going to be able to provide, and really seeking which organization could benefit most from the value that that individual is bringing. And so it does require some of the hand holding versus the normal routes of obtaining roles. So let us connect offline on that one, David, with regard to Ian's opportunities and his resume.
Thank you, Danielle. Thank
Of
you.
course, of course.
Anybody else? Gregory?
Yes,
I know.
sir.
I know Gregory was like, oh man, it's Saturday. You know, I'm on camera already and now I'm getting called out. Really?
I'm just happy to be here.
I got on camera for you folks. Now you got to call me.
Okay. Well, I'm completely new to cybersecurity. I have no idea what I'm doing. I joined a fast track kind of course called Masterclass, I believe. And I was just hoping that if anyone knew about Masterclass or Master Course, if they could just help guide me in the right direction towards any knowledge about cybersecurity, because completely new. I don't know. I'm lost in the trees here and I need some guidance.
Well, I might start, if you were given to me as a mentor, I might start by asking the question, why cybersecurity?
Why?
Well, I've been in security for about, like regular security for about 8 years now. And I've liked technology. I mean, I'm no savant when it comes to technology, but I'm literate when it comes to computers. And if I can just stay in the cyber or in the security realm and I get to help people along the way, then I figured it would be a good way to start, you know?
And you know, that's an incredible transition, right? Physical security to cybersecurity. I am a big fan. We didn't go through a lot of my career transitions, but the transition is probably the most important part of everyone's career. It's the story you tell in any interview about the past that you've done. And that career transition is a pivotal one, right? And that's what uniquely separates you from many other cybersecurity professionals. They're not going to have the same lens as you do from a physical security lens perspective, right? So I would continue to hone that. If you're still excited about physical security, start to look at the connection points, right? Where does physical security truly connect in? What technology, services, applications really help to, on the IT side, help to leverage your experience on the cyber side? Because when you start to speak about physical security, people are going to stop and listen, because they may not have the experience and expertise that you do on the physical security. So that might be where I start.
Right.
Okay.
You know, there's also physical security is one of the cyber domains. It's like about 9 or 10 of them, right? And when you look at the domains, they're this big web of where everything goes. And so you'll see in that whole domain, and I'll share it. I'll give you my email. I'll share it with you, or you can hit me on LinkedIn. But either one, I'll show you that domain so you can see all of the domains and what is in security industry today as we know it. Physical security is one of them. The other thing I would say to you is the best knowledge or education, self-knowledge and education, right? I know that paying for a class is one of the ways to do it, but I always suggested to the mentees that I worked with, just go search this stuff out yourself. Go dig deep. Read everything that you possibly can before you pay money for anything, right?
Yes.
Just go dig deep and then ask some questions and then pay some money for something. And then working with some of the organizations that Danielle is associated with, that William may be associated with, Omar, and And I think he's already gone. But anyway, just ask questions before you spend money, because I think I used to tell the mentees, because it's not that I wasn't a proponent of certificates, but I think the people who do the best with certificates are the people that give them. Right? So I just think that you should spend time getting to know what you need to know. Then you can get a certificate, or then you could pay for a class, so you can take all the knowledge that you have and have it honed by that specific training course. But yeah, just be careful spending money on this, because it's a deep rabbit hole. It is.
Well, and let me touch in about this because the certificate or not to have or not to have is a very heavy debate. What I would recommend is, as you are pursuing particular paths, once you are in a role, there's an opportunity for that organization to help fund those certificates, right? So that could be something that you're looking at. And in the line in the interview is simply, I'm in the process of obtaining, or I have been studying towards, and we talk about 9 domains, CISSP is the first one that comes to mind. When you start to have those conversations, get into those roles, and you're telling your future employer that that's what you're interested in doing, that's okay. Now, it doesn't differentiate you from the folks that already have it, but they're saying, hey, listen, he's already on the way. And once you get into that role, there's an ability for them to help support the funding of those certificates and additional training beyond that.
Right. All right, perfect. I appreciate you guys' time. It's been really, my aunt, I don't want to say Aunt Bobby, but my aunt, she got me on here, and I really appreciate what you did for me. You guys have been great.
Fabulous. Thanks for coming.
Hey, Gregory, shoot me a text so we can chat offline.
Yes, sir.
All right, who's up next?
Don't make me call you.
I'm telling you, they're like,
don't make you call
David,
me. Don't make me call
Saturday,
you, Kendra.
I got my camera off. I'm just trying to finish some
I know
lunch.
she's trying. That's all right. I know she's trying.
I'm here.
Hey, Kendra,
Hi,
how
everyone.
Hi.
Hi. So I'm actually David's niece. I'm sort of like Gregory. I'm very new to cybersecurity. This is just all new knowledge to me. I'm actually, unlike Gregory, I'm coming from a medical background, administration. So I'm sort of transitioning now where I want to go into cybersecurity, as even in the medical field, I'm starting to see things are becoming more and more tech-like and software, and not putting the responsibility on us, but now, as it advances, they're going to need less and less of us. It's inevitable. So I'm sort of like, as I've done my research, I'm just, cybersecurity is just so broad. So I guess my question is, when you started, and this doesn't have to go to anyone specifically, but when you started, how did you find your niche? What worked? Or, did you try different things to see, what fit? Or did you already know going in what it is that you wanted to do specifically?
So I'll start with that one, because I started with an IT and engineering background, so it was very easy for me just to pick. But I want to pivot and not talk about me, but talk about you, because you mentioned nursing. Did you say nursing?
Administration.
Administration. You're going to have, again, another critical intersection when we start to think about the healthcare field and the impact of security on the healthcare field. The devices that we are either implanting or wearing. And if we are not securing the code that is on those devices that are potentially providing medication to us as patients, we there have a problem. So I would encourage you as well to start thinking about what is it specifically to your field that that as you start to pivot and look at cyber is, in my mind, and I'm going to give it a very rudimentary, because I think sometimes we make it really big, but our ability to just protect, fill in the blank, right? Protect, fill in the blank. So now your fill in the blank is going to be something medically related, right? The more devices, the more we begin to automate some of the medical needs of people, that's where our challenge is going to be, right? Because if we start talking about people not securing them appropriately or wanting to compromise them, what could be detrimental is the health of the patient that it's going to support. So think about that intersection for you, because that's where you're going to be able to add the most immediate value, right, to the field of cyber.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
No worries. I see David smiling. I know he's got a follow up.
Administratively, it's so critical administratively in healthcare. I know that it gets down to the patient outcome at the end of the day. How does technology affect and positively affect patient outcome? But how is that administered? Because even at its basic, most rudimentary basis, these applications, these tools, these technologies are devised and developed by humans. So at some point, a human touched it, and so it may have a flaw in it anyway. So when you think about this administratively, how do you manage the administration and implementation of technologies in the healthcare field? This is critical. It really is critical, because just because you apply technology to something doesn't mean it's being done right. Right? You could be applying technology to a failed business model and it'll go fail faster. Technology really helps enable. Of course, technology is for humans. It's made and created to help develop and support humans. And so if it's done right, it helps right. But you know, administratively, you want to, and remember this, you don't have to be technical to be in technology. Anybody that I mentor, it's like technology in what is it, the people, process, and technology. I focus on people. It's the biggest, scarcest commodity we have. So you don't need to be technical, but you do need to know and learn what this technology can do and how to administer it properly. So we'll talk offline.
Okay.
And what does it enable, right? Because technology is an enabler, right? So what does the technology, I do think we do get too wrapped up in the technology. And there are some people that they enjoy that, right? Some folks who develop, they're all about the code. But and that's where the gaps are. Think about it like this. Have you been to a website, as a simple example, or a mobile site, and you're putting your information in and it just doesn't do what it's supposed to do?
Yeah.
And you're just kind of like, good gracious, someone developed that. And they probably didn't develop it from the experience of the person who's going to be entering. And there are multiple profiles of people who are entering it. We see it all the time. And every time it happens, I sit back and just say, oh, the developer who made this. I take a deep breath and I keep it moving. However, to that point, don't get caught in the technology. It's about what does it enable? What does it do for us? And really focus the time and energy there.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ramel, holy cow, it's Ramel. How you doing? How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Yeah, no, I'm enjoying the presentation so far. You know, how you doing? Will, yeah, no, I'm definitely enjoying it. Yeah, so I actually did have a question. I guess so like everybody's talking about Amazon. I work at Amazon now. I started like a few months ago. I'm on the software side, software engineering. And yeah, that's pretty cool. But in addition to that, I'm in like the very early stages of a company, trying to, I guess, facilitate like recruitment for early career candidates. And like I've talked to Mr. Elcock about this before. We've discussed it. And I think one thing that I'm like, I guess, looking for more mentors with is helping people actually develop so that they can be like, they can actually get a job and like enter the field. And the reason I would say it's kind of hard is because like I guess the point I'm trying to make is just like how do you prepare somebody for some of these, like, just at least just to get the job? How do you prepare somebody to get the job when they're at like different levels, if they didn't necessarily have like the same like background as you, or they didn't necessarily have the same upbringing in terms of like maybe the classes that he took, like from a foundational level, they don't have like the same background. How do you develop people, to get these different kinds of roles? Like, yeah, and be, basically be strong candidates.
Was that question to me?
Yeah, it was like, it was just like everybody.
Oh, okay.
I'm
I
gonna,
mean, anybody who,
I'm gonna start with Danielle's why. You know, this is not for everybody. Just like it's not for everybody. And the folks who seem to have the most success in it are the ones who can sort of separate the wheat from the chaff and focus and spend time focusing on what's important to them. Especially if cybersecurity is important to you, you're gonna flush out everything that you can, all knowledge that you can, learn everything that you can, and take what you have and talk to somebody like Danielle, right? Or somebody like Omar or Laron. You're gonna go talk to these folks and ask them to tell you. But it gets back to why. I hear a lot of people talking about you're gonna make $100,000. That is not the reason to get into cybersecurity. Because today you can make $100,000 and tomorrow you miss a period in a code and you're not making $100,000. So the why is real critical.
Yeah.
Why do you want to get into this? Why? What is your purpose? Because this job is what you do. It's not who you are. Who you are and all of what you do is really important. So, and Ramel, yeah, absolutely. I know where you are. So that's, I just go back to Danielle's statement about why. I mean, why? It's critical. Why? Why holds you through? Why pulls you through why pulls you through everything that you're going to go learn and do and go through? Really, why does that?
And Ramel, was part of your question about how, or was it the why?
I think part of my question was how.
How?
Like,
So
how does that? Yeah.
So the
And I guess that's
how,
part of it was for you, because I know you work with like early career people sometimes.
gotcha. The how, so I'll tell you like this, there's a war on talent, right? Everyone's heard that term, right? We cannot find enough technology professionals, let alone cybersecurity professionals, right? We all know it, right? So most organizations have resorted to using different mechanisms than traditional hiring practices in order to fill that pipeline. And one channel is early in career talent. A lot of what is successful in getting early in career talent is you got to build a program of enablement and development around it. Because if you think about a lot of what we heard today, many folks have raised their hand and say, I'm new to this, I'm excited, but help guide me. And these programs help to facilitate that. So an employer hires someone on that's new, they may have the background from a degree perspective, but maybe not the tactical, how do I use this for success in a business? And the development of a program helps to do that. And the program can have a couple different facets. First, the educational piece. How do we ensure, going back to David's comment, there's the technical acumen, there's the business acumen, and then there's just what was the third one, David? Technical acumen, business acumen, and just technical competencies.
Communication skill.
You build programs around all of that, right? For us, very high technical acumen, very high business acumen, hands down. So the program that we're building is going to have a very big focus on those two pillars. Once you do that, now you've pretty much got everybody ready. They understand the business, they understand the why for the business, they understand the technology. Now we have to get them to translate that to engaging in the actual business. You've got that knowledge. Is it working with customers? Is it working with code? Now that you've built them up and you've trained them, you now have to translate what it is that you need from them to apply to the business.
Okay. Yeah, I think my thing might have like went in and out.
Oh, sorry, did you miss a piece of that?
I might have like maybe like the last like maybe like 10 seconds, like the last like 10 seconds.
So in essence, you build a program if you're looking for people to train them for what you need. And there's a technical element to it, there's a business element. Once they do that, now you have to translate those technical elements and business elements to how they're going to impact the business, because that's in essence what we want most employees, is for them to be able to add value to the business. So then you have to create that translation for them, and then they're off and running. Does that help answer your question?
Yeah, that definitely helps. I definitely never heard that one. That's definitely new. Like I'm gonna let that sit for a second.
Well, just Slack me and we can always talk some more.
Okay. Thank you.
No worries.
Or LinkedIn. Okay.
What other questions might we have? Oh, I see another hand
Um,
raised.
Yeah, Ian, is your, let's see.
Yes, if I may again, I'm going to have attempt at the why to get into this field as opposed to the how. The intellectual excitement, the challenge, the opportunities. We have in our lifetime this unprecedented global network, all these gazillion tendrils, the communication channels stretching into and connecting every communication device on the planet is just ballooning. Much of the planet is still not online. There are going to be couple billion more people at least added to this vast communication network by means like Elon Musk's Starlink and the like. And of course, all these connections means enormous vulnerability. Basically, this system has to have an immune system, prevent itself from being attacked. We as cybersecurity people are the immune system protecting this vast organism and its capabilities. Think of the intellectual challenges offered by actually being this immune system, by trying to think how to protect these innumerable gazillion tendrils of communication channels. Think of intellectual stimulation, think of the career prospects, think of the road ahead as things like quantum technology become added to the communication system, and think in terms of current events of such things as the Ukraine war, illustrating how this system, the global communication network, will be exploited for nefarious effort, and again of the challenges of trying to protect and combat it. This is the why, perhaps. The enormous intellectual stimulation, enormous capacity to do truly good works, and yes, the hopefully lucrative career potential as well. So I just thought I'd hazard attempt at why. So
Did you say that was a haphazard attempt at why?
well, nothing's perfect.
Oh, I disagree. That was an incredible articulation of why. Thank you so much for sharing. I don't, there's nothing else to say there. I think you summed it up. I don't know that there's any additional commentary. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
That is a great why. I mean, that's, and then even with the way he said it, he sounds so curious, right? And that's, I think a lot of hiring people or folks that CISOs and security directors, they want curious folks. I mean, Ian is curious as all get up. He really is curious. So thank you, Ian. Appreciate it, dude.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have any other questions, William?
Looks like that's everyone. Yeah, thank you, Ian, for putting the links in the chat for people to check out.
Thank you. Somebody, I think one of the participants was curious about how maybe to transition from healthcare to cybersecurity. I just thought maybe this might provide some food food for thought. So
Absolutely, it does.
All right. Well, if we don't have any further questions, David, do you want to take it away from here?
David, you're on.
I was
mute.
out surfing. I was out surfing the web for a quick second. William, firstly, William, thank you for giving me an opportunity. You were my second mentee, right? For giving me an opportunity to work with you. For learning a lot about you and your family, learning about your dad and whatnot. So that's personal to me. And so that's personal. So I'm less technical, but I'm much more empathetic about the folks that I work with and deal with. I mean, if I get in, I just go in. So that's what I learned a lot with you. And so I appreciate that. Then Danielle, damn, sister. Okay. And that's my Brooklyn way of saying, nice. And you see, look, the people, that's my authentic way of saying thank you. I really appreciate what you did just today. It was really, really, really engaging. I've just learned a lot more about you today. So I really appreciate that. And William, I don't need to take us out of here. That's your job. So really appreciate you coming and sharing, right? And your leadership. I've always said that to you about your leadership, and I ain't gonna go into no more of it, but I gotta look back at your family and say that upbringing does it. So
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah.
I'm gonna jump in there as well and just say,
Please.
William, thank you. Thank you for this incredible opportunity to share some perspective and to lead folks through some answers and in different directions and give them some guidance, right? You have always been a community builder, right? From the moment that I've met you. And I appreciate you always focusing on, we talked about how mentorship is really an opportunity to bring people to where you are. And you bring people in all directions, right? You touch them and you bring them to the side, you bring them forward, you bring them up. And that's an incredible skill and trait. I cannot wait to see where you are in 10 years. 10 years from now, 5 years from now, you're just going to go on and do incredible and amazing things. And I am just so happy I had the opportunity to participate with you while we were both together, and will continue to engage and support you in any way that I can. Thank you so much.
That means a lot. I really appreciate it. And especially, man, I mean, I could talk for a while on David, your role in my early development. Man, I know exactly where I was when we had our first conversation, David. And I really appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. And Danielle, especially you. Thank you so much for everything you've given me and everybody you touch on this call and outside of this call. So.
Hey, one last thing. I'm sorry to interrupt, William. I've just put the link for the Cyversity's conference. So if anyone in this period of time between now and the next 2 weeks are interested in attending the conference, reach out, because there are some vouchers available, right? You reach out to Beverly, so there are some free attendance vouchers that you should look at. And I also put a survey link here. And so click on that survey link and give your opinion about how this particular conversation went. Cyversity looks for that. They want to understand if we're helping or not. I think it's beneficial to hear from the folks that you serve, right? You serve folks and you want them to speak about whether something is beneficial to them or not. All right. So thanks very much. Remember, guys, when this is over, there's usually the party after the party where people just hang around and chat. But William, it's on you. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, sir. Always, always. Well, I want to honor the time that we set. Thank you guys, everybody, for attending. Danielle, David, again, thank you. I'm going to reach out to a few people after the chat. If you need, can you, Danielle, can you put your information in the, maybe your email or LinkedIn so people know how to find you? And I will do the same. And then we will close out.
Not gonna let us stop recording, so. Hey, guys, thank you, thanks, everyone. Ian, Kendra, my niece, Kendra, Gregory, Bobby, really pleasure to see you, Bobby. Thanks very much, dear. And I gotta talk to you because if you're actually doing this event management, Cyversity in Austin wants to do a couple of events. And so you may be able to help us there, right? Omar, thanks for showing up, brother. I'm so happy you're doing well up there in Boston. Serenity, my sister, always good to see you. Victor, didn't get a chance to hear from you, but you know, you're welcome to speak up now. I think the ABD is, what's his name? He's over in Pflugerville, Texas, right? Thanks for coming, Lauren, Brian Edwards. Did I say that right? Brian, Gia, and there's one other person there whose name, oh, my man, Jason. Jason, I think we got something for you. I'm sure Bennett talked to you. God bless you all. And thanks for coming. Everybody be well.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.